the electorate voted for President Obama in excess of 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is where you're starting from, if you're a Republican, your ass is going to lose every motherfucking time.
I love it. Hey, listen, y'all know when Jackie cusses, it's an occasion. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Your ass is going to get spanked every motherfucking time.
Okay.
Do math, baby.
Jackie,
Math.
he spanked, we spanked, because I know the president wouldn't say he. He was brought to tears on what we.
Yes.
And they pissed us off, Jackie. That's what happened.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry, Brenda. I left out one other thing, too. I was wrong about that 85% of the electorate. Actually, it's 90%.
Damn.
That other 5% that includes Asians and everybody, they voted for President Obama like 70%.
Yes, they did.
So if you have 90% of the total electorate who's going to vote, 50% of that is going to vote against you, at least 50%.
Dave Rave says, ooh, Jackie. She has done the arithmetic. That's all she did.
That's all it is. That is all it is. It is just math. And of course, with those percentages, there's overlap and all that other kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, if you have 13% of the electorate, nearly that whole 13%, is going to vote against you. Mm-hmm. And then you have another 7% that's going to be, those percentages add up. And that means that you are going to have to win 60%, well, more. Actually, I saw something today, and I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to research this further. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I saw is like 89% of white men voted against the president. And I don't think that number is right. But I do know that the president only won 39% of the white vote. And
you know what, Jackie? He's still going to help you.
Of course,
poor.
Of course he will, because the president sees people as people. But you have this core of the Republican Party. They're just the old Confederacy. That's
all. Jackie, you and I have talked many nights, many days about this thing. And, Chris Matthews, you brought to my attention the other day that Chris Matthews and the forward commercials, or the lean forward commercials that are run on MSNBC, those commercials are produced and done by Spike Lee for MSNBC. And if you don't watch MSNBC, let me lay it out for you like this. Reverend Al, Chris Matthews, Rachel Maddow, Ed, and the Lawrence show. They have these news commentators, host, and they give their opinion, just some solid thoughts on the election and what's happening here. And you said the other day that Chris Matthews, you liked that commercial that he said that the Civil War is still going on.
That's right.
They don't have guns shooting each other right now, but the mental Civil War in the South is still going on. And I told, Dave called me last night, totally upset because Romney had 153 electoral votes and the president had 114. And I said, Dave, don't worry about it. Nobody cares about KKK Boulevard running up through the country and to the right. Nobody cares about that. They know where they are. He's going to win the South. Every Republican is always going to win the South. And that's why they've been named the red states. Now, our president continues to remind us that we are the United States. But, the news people lay it out that way. And that's just to help us to know who we are. Early on in this show, Jack and I was talking about, I was confused. I didn't know whether I was on the right or the left. And Jackie mistakenly told me I was on the right. And then I found out later that that's them damn fools. Jackie, you told me
I didn't tell you that. You said you were on the right, and I told you no, you were on the left.
I got you recorded. I ain't even going.
I was about to say, don't be like Mitt Romney.
Hey, Jackie, that just goes to show I don't give a damn. Right, left, red, blue. I am for sensible.
Yeah, you for common sense.
Capable, common sense, caring presidents, congressmen, senators.
Yes.
And I love, I get a better feeling when I do for people than I get for people doing for me. I get such a better feeling with me doing for people. And if you are going to leave people out, I'm never going to vote for you. If all you're going to do is take care of your buddies at the top that are lying and cheating and taking what po folks work for. See, they don't work, Jack. Their money works for them.
Yes.
As
and that must be a very nice place to be in.
Yes, as the Bernie Madoff.
The fact of the matter is that 99% of us don't have that luxury.
Thank you. As the Bernie Madoffs of the world rip their asses off.
Yes.
Speaking of ripping folks off, Turd Blossom made out like a bandit, I'm sure.
You still want to get to Turd Blossom? I still got one more thing to talk about.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, and that is, I just wanted to speak very briefly about the voter suppression efforts, most notably in Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay. Former New Jersey governor. I'm sorry.
I know you're trying to think of his name.
Christy Todd is a woman.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. She has been one of these international observers since leaving the governor's. I'm sorry, Christine Todd Whitman. Since leaving the governor's mansion in New Jersey.
Okay.
That's one of the things that she has been doing. And she made the statement that the lines and the confusion around voting in Florida and Ohio reminded her, she said, it looked like what you see in a third world country. It looked like what you would see in a new democracy, not in a democracy that is 230-something years old. And
where voting is how old, Jackie?
Oh, well,
over 50 years.
The first votes that were ever taken in the Republic, after the Civil War and all that stuff, was in 1780. Okay, that was the first time.
You would think that we got it down. And Jackie, we were doing pretty good, with our voting system. We were doing pretty good.
We had started doing better given some of the debacles that had happened in previous elections.
That's right.
And so, but Mr. Husted in Ohio, and I'm sure he's embarrassed as hell. Because, he looks extra bad now.
Yeah, and Jackie, Rick Santorum said during the primaries, or back when they were trying to choose their Republican candidate, he said on stage one night, as he was embarrassed about some shit he was trying to accuse everybody else of, and they nabbed him, he said, well, okay, I took one for the team.
Yeah.
So that's, if I had to take one for the team, like these Republican governors and attorney generals and so on are having to take, Jackie, my name, my pride,
your reputation.
My reputation is just too important to me, Jackie.
These guys don't need a professional reputation because they don't exist outside of their little right-wing bubble.
Right.
Okay? So within their circle, within that small circle that they're in, they're going to be okay.
Yeah,
now, if they ever have to go outside in the real world, there's going to be some problems.
Yep.
But as long as they stay inside that little bubble, they'll be okay.
Now, Jackie, you and I have offered our services for over a year now. And we wouldn't have charged them half as much as Karl Rove charged them.
Not even 25% as much.
and we would have helped them. We could have made.
You could give me $50 million, I'll go away.
Yeah, we could have made them look good. First thing we would have done was told Romney to stop doing that goofy Stan Laurel smile.
And that smack.
And that smack. Like he had false teeth.
Yes.
Stop that. You sound like an old person, an old woman, an old man. Stop it. That's the first thing we would have told him. Then the next thing we would have told him is don't lie.
Yeah.
Jackie, just stand up for what your party believes in. Stand up and let the chips fall where they may. But they knew they couldn't do that.
Well, and I know I've said this before. That's one of the things that I have found most disappointing about this campaign. When Mitt Romney chose Paul Ryan, I jumped to the erroneous conclusion that meant that they wanted to debate their ideas in public.
Yeah.
They wanted to throw this stuff out there and say, yeah, we want to cut Medicaid and Medicare. We don't think that poor children should have access to doctors. We don't believe that women should be in the workforce. You shouldn't have birth control pills, and abortion is definitely out of, I wanted them to get out there and say this crap.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie, and
been talking for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and use your intellectual. Mitt Romney attended Harvard too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he's intellectual.
Yeah, he's a Harvard-trained lawyer, just like the president.
Yeah, so, but what came through Jackie was nothing but phoniness. He looked like the Wizard of Oz.
Well, because he was trying to win. Mitt Romney knew when he was in the primary, okay? He knew when he was in the primaries that this crazy crap they were talking would not wash in a general election. He knew that.
Yeah.
But he did what it took to win the primary.
And it didn't fool us.
After he won the primary, he still was doing that crazy stuff to make sure that all those Obama haters would be with him.
And he
What
never...
he didn't realize at that point is the Obama haters were going to be with him anyway. They weren't going to stay at home because they didn't want to see a Negro in the White House for another 4 years.
Okay, Jackie, and he never once, whenever the craziest shit that could be said was said.
That's right.
He never once said, I don't believe that. When Rush Limbaugh called Sandra Fluke a slut,
yeah,
he said, not the terms that I would have exactly used. Yeah, so you would have called a slut in a better way? What?
Yeah.
What would you have used?
And that's all he had to say about it.
Yeah.
And so because the Republicans, the thing that has struck me about the Republican Party most recently, over the past 2 years,
mm-hmm.
is that everything has to do with what they believe. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as an objective fact in their world.
Mm-hmm.
And so since they live in their own little, Joy Reid calls it a hermetically sealed echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
They only talk to one another. They tell each other these lies, and since Joe Bob said it's true and Jim and John said it's true, it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't trust or believe anything any of those other people that live outside of our world say.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a situation like that, objective reality has really got a bite, because these guys really thought they were going to win.
Yes, they did, Jackie.
You remember I was talking to you about the Rasmussen poll. That every time, you remember, I would always complain about that?
Uh-huh.
And that when I was doing my numbers, I had to always remember to throw those polls out because they were just bullshit.
Uh-huh.
So now, today, this guy who did this website called Unskewed Polls, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Where
yes.
On his electoral map and in his poll, Mitt Romney's winning by 12 points.
Mm-hmm.
And winning nearly 400 electoral votes, which even in your wildest imagining, Brenda,
mm-hmm.
those numbers those were magic numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no way, looking at the political landscape, that you could come up with a scenario like that.
Yeah, Jackie, they definitely threw some fairy dust in the air and
That's
said,
right.
okay.
Fairy dust in the air, yeah. And so then this guy comes out today with a statement saying that, he really thinks that Scott Rasmussen has some explaining to do because he's just lost all credibility. It's like he didn't have any credibility with anybody but you people.
Okay, as Ann Romney can say, you people.
That's right. He didn't have any credibility with anybody but you psychos.
Jackie, they got
in people he had credibility with.
They invited all the snakes and the roaches and the rats into their bed. And now they just got to sleep with them some bitches.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And the other thing that I want to talk about tonight is what happens in the aftermath. What I want to talk about first is the political stuff, like the bad things that Republicans are saying about each other and, what they are saying in response to the election.
Well, Jackie, when we come back, I'm going to let you talk about it. We're about to take our first break. Okay. And coming up for 10 minutes, you're going to hear Den Den's rant. Now, Den may just be shouting like I am, or, he's going to have a laugh or two at the poor Republican